back to Conversations with Errstories. And for today's episode, we have with us Dr. Saloni Surah. Dr. Saloni is the author of a children's book entitled Flora Investigates the Case of the Missing Gold Eggs. This is a funny, zany book for 5 to 9 years old. She is also an advocate, an HIV and sexual health consultant, and also holds a PhD on HIV infection and drug use. Working in her particular area of medicine, Dr. Sura became aware of the mind body connection with regards to ill health and, of course, well being. Has an active interest in meditation, self development, and other healing modalities. And also, apart from being a writer, she also works as a spiritual coach. So, how are you doing today, Dr. Saloni?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's lovely to be here.
Okay, and thank you for finding time. And I'm so excited for this interview. So, my first question is, what inspired you to write?
Well, I started writing when I was doing my PhD, so it sounds crazy, but I was doing all this heavy scientific writing, and all these kind of fun characters wanted to come out. I think it was probably a break. I needed a break from the mundaneness of everyday life. And, if you have done any scientific writing, it's very formulaic, especially if you're submitting to journals. You have your abstract, your aim, your method, results, discussion, and conclusion. So there's not much kind of leeway. So at that time, I started to write about dragons and fairies. And, it was just a wonderful contrast, basically. It was just me escaping everyday life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a funny story, inside story, because you were doing a lot of heavy researches, and at the same time, what's that? Like one day you just imagine some dragons and fairies flying around you while doing the research.
Well, it's funny. I've been told for years that I should write. It's a bit of a funny story, but I ended up going to the psychic like when I was a med student. Just, it was just a bit of fun. And I remember her saying to me at the time, "Oh, you're going to be a writer." And I was like, "What? I'm not a writer. I was a med student at that point. I was backpacking. A group of us went, and I just thought nothing of it. And so I can't remember exactly how it happened when I was doing the PhD. Wasn't that I had more time, but I was able to manage my time a lot more. So obviously when you're working as a doctor, junior doctor, there's a lot of nights and unsocial hours. So doing the PhD, I'd like to say there were no unsocial hours. That wasn't true. But, I still did some evening clinics and some out of hours, but I was able to manage my time more. It wasn't as much. And it gave me the freedom to try other things. So not just writing, like meditation classes. I did a bit of Reiki healing. That's when I did some of my coach training then. So it gave me that opportunity to try other things. And also I think the headspace. I don't think what I did at the beginning was very good. Those two books, the fairy book will be coming out next year, and the dragon book I will go back to probably at some point next year. So that needs a total rehaul. But it was probably a bit of therapy for me, also getting some of my past out. And, yeah, like I say, I think the beginning bits weren't great. Probably a bit more journaling, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's a very interesting journey, and I'm happy that as early as now you already have plans for your upcoming books. And so I'd like to ask, what is your writing style? And do you usually write in the morning, at night, or do you make sure that an hour a day you do it, or what's your writing style?
So I don't have a formal writing pattern, and that's because I have two young children. So I'm trying to juggle it with childcare. I'm not an evening writer primarily because it overstimulates me and I don't sleep. So I'm not a great sleeper. So it's usually when I have childcare, and I wish I could do an hour daily. That probably would be the perfect for me, but I just don't have childcare every day. So usually when I have childcare 2-3 days a week, and it's those 2-3 days and probably a Saturday morning. So I'm in a break at the moment because I finished my fairies about a month, 6 weeks ago, and that was a long write. Also because I've been doing it since earlier in the year. My other book came out. But I will be picking up my fairies either this week or not my fairies, my mermaids this week or next. So it's when I can get time. My style has changed. You know, obviously at the beginning it was just writing. Now I plot and do a lot more development. So I have done, you know, courses, conferences, feedback, all of that stuff over the years. It's been 13 years, editors and stuff. So my style's changed. I've had a lot of feedback and hopefully it's a lot better than it was. Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's also a factor that, like what you said, you have children you're taking care of, and then you're writing these children's stories and all. What are some of the tips that you can share to aspiring writers who might be
About
watching our interview?
I think it's to just go for it, so to just write, you know, get the pen and paper, write, put your stories down. But I also think it's really important to get feedback and editing. So finding a safe space, you know, I've done a lot of writing groups, and wherever I live, I tend to find a writing group because I think it can be very solitary. So it's nice to find people to connect with. It's also a great way to get feedback. I
Mhm.
have done courses. I've done courses with writers Dublin and also the conferences, and I've paid for feedback too. So I think all of those are valid techniques. You know, certainly I didn't suddenly decide one day that I was going to be a doctor and that was that. For me, it took 5 to 6 years of training. So, you know, I think it's probably the same with writing. And, you know, maybe there are some people who could just get out and write a perfect book straight off, but most of us know it's a lot of you know, revisions and feedback and, you know, editing, because you're just blind to your own work by the end of it. You know, same with the PhD. So you know, in some ways it's not that different of the editing and needing somebody else to look at it at the end.
Okay. I agree with you that, feedback is very important in terms of how we will improve our story and all that. But can you share some tips as well as to how writers can better manage feedback? Because, sometimes, like, personally, not me, but there could be some people who might not be able to manage negative feedback. And instead of making them write more, they'd rather stop. So, how do they manage that type?
I think it's challenging. You know, I think we all find it tough. I think the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more you get used to it. And it's also finding your people. So it's, you know, one person may not be right for you, but that this person may be. So sometimes the group and the writing classes are good because you get to know the person who's running it. So I've done, you know, paid groups, and then, you know, groups where we all just go in and share our work. So the paid groups were good in a way because they're both professional writers. We read other people's work, we heard them get feedback. So there were things that you were picking up that, you know, we all do. And also by the end of that, I think you knew the person who's giving you feedback, so it was a bit easier. So those are some ways. The other stuff that I've also done is, you know, well, it's a writing group and we're all sharing our work. Sometimes that's been great, sometimes it's been brutal, you know, and people have different ideas. And then there's the paid feedback, which again, I've had a few where I'm a bit like, and then, you know, the ones more lately I've been happier with. But also, I think often with the paid feedback, I don't know about you, I'm auditory. So I find that the written feedback, it's good to have, but I like to hear. I also like to run ideas and things past people. So you know, the auditory feedback works with me. For a lot of them, you know, they do what, you know, they do like a phone call or chat afterwards. So it's challenging. It's about, you know, I think not taking it to heart, and then, you know, that's an individual thing of who you are as a person, and kind of standing back, coming back to it. So obviously initially there's the shock and the, oh my goodness, I just wanted them to love it, and coming back and going, okay, well, is that valid? You know, going for a walk, giving it a few days, having a look, is it valid? Because we all know when it's our work, it's really challenging to get that distance and to see the holes in it.
Yeah, that's right. And what's good with feedback actually is you get to, in a way, validate also. Are you able to transfer or really how they communicate what you want to communicate. Because if it's not clear, right, with those who are reading, then maybe you can really improve on what you have started there. Yeah, I like
Absolutely,
that
yes.
tip. Yeah. Okay, now we go to your book, Dr. Saloni. I hope you have a copy with you there.
I do, yes. This is Flora.
Yeah. Hello, Flora. How are you doing?
Uh, so this is my Flora. Flora investigates the case of the missing gold eggs. And she is loosely based on my husband's friends and family. So I've kind of parodied them all. I was a little bit naughty, but my mother-in-law used to keep chickens. They've all been the foxes have been at them, so they've all gone. And when I met my husband, we talked a lot about their chickens. And one day one of them went missing, and he joked that there'd been a murder in the garden. So you probably just see the chicken there and the eggs. So he joked there'd been a murder in the garden. And then when he took me back to Florence, Italy, which is where he's from, I met friends and families, cats, parrots, and the story brewed.
Wow. Okay, so are there like inside? Is there like illustration inside the book,
Of course,
or
yeah, yeah.
yeah?
This is my rough copy, but there are the illustrations, and then the other thing is there's notes. So, Flora's a 10-year-old girl. She wants to be a detective, and there's not a lot of people that want to employ girl detectives. So she sets up her own agency, and she finds this case and she works through. It's really about a girl, looking for her dreams, trying to make her dreams come true, which is a story for any of us. But yes, there are lots of illustrations in here. I'm trying to find some more. There we are. That's Flora's flyer
Wow.
for her agency, and missed an egg there on the floor. So yeah, lots of and I've also got a little spot the difference in the back when you get to the end. So yeah.
Wow. So there's like an activity also for the children apart
Yeah,
from
yeah.
reading. It's like a very, how do you call this? Engaging book. Not only like you read it, but there's are activities. And how do they buy the book?
Okay, so it's basically Amazon. At the moment, it's just on Amazon, so I'm not on Ingram Sparks, but it's worldwide, so you can buy it worldwide. It's on paperback and it's on Kindle, and it's also Kindle Unlimited. If people want signed copies, then they need to contact me. It's obviously easier if it's UK or Ireland for the signed copies, but yes, Amazon.
Okay, so there later we will be placing also in the description the link of Dr. Saloni's book so that you can order, especially the moms out there for your children. What are your other
So
features?
sorry,
Yes.
there's a few. So there's two local libraries in the Chester area that have it. So there's Hope and my local library, the Late, and then it's currently in Right Blend Bookshop in Liverpool, and so I'm trying other bookshops at the moment. I'm hoping to get it into Book Dragon in Stockton Tees in the next couple of weeks. That's one of my jobs. So I am popping out to other bookshops, seeing he'll stock for me.
Wow. So there's also a physical copy available. We'll also be placing that in our description page. Now, my next question is, although you've mentioned about some of your plans earlier, but there
Mm.
other plans you intend to do with in terms of your writing?
Absolutely. So I have my second book I'm planning for February. This is a different book to Flora. So it's an older age group. Flora's kind of 5 to 9, 5 to 10-year-olds. So this is a middle grade. It's called The Last Fairy Guardian. And this is a book about a flower fairy and a human girl and their forbidden friendship. And this is because the fairy forest is at threat. So wings are at risk. It's really a book about being grounded, having our wings clipped, being grounded, bullying, and the power of forgiveness, with a lot of magic and fairy love.
Wow. So that's something that our readers would be excited to watch out for. But what about Dr. Salini? Anything related to, let's say, meditation for the children? Do you
So,
eventually
yes,
intend to make one?
Yes, that's my plan. So, funnily enough, for the first book, and I was just thinking, it's funny you said that this the last few days. So, the first book, there is more meditations and stuff in there. With the fairies, I might develop this potions and things in there. So, yes, as we're currently in the illustration phase with the fairies and editing. So, as I kind of move on with that, then there is a possibility for kind of meditations and some potion work and stuff. So, we'll see what develops with that.
Wow, exciting plans ahead. Do you have any other message that you wish to share to our viewers?
Well, really, I write inspiring and magical books. So I worked as a doctor for a long time and I looked after people from all over the world and a lot of poverty. And for me, it was about bringing it back to the children because that's where lives change. And, you know, if we can get children believing in themselves, believing in the power of their dreams, that they can live their dreams, that they can make things happen, and that they don't need to give their power away or be grounded, then that for me is beautiful. So really it's my dream to help children grow up to feel empowered and that they can do things. You know, I wasn't a very confident child, and that they don't need to give their power away. So that's really my aim. That's, you know, that's what I love. Obviously with a lot of magic, because I do write about dragons and fairies and magic, but it's really about power and helping children be the best that they can be.
Wow. I love what you said, Dr. Saloni, that you're focusing on the children because you know that this is like the foundation really. If they have good experiences, then they'd have better adulthood life, right? So I commend you for that, Dr.
Thank
Saloni.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we end, I just have this curious question for you because, it's a buzz thing now. There are a lot of AI programs, AI apps available. And some writers are saying, oh, it might be replaced by AI, while some are actually happy with the
Right.
AI. So, there, my question
Excuse me.
is, um, what are your insights about AI in terms of
Well,
writing for authors?
I don't have a lot of experience with AI. It's not something that I'm interested in. For me, it's about it's about hearts and connection. So it's not just, when you buy a book from me, it's not just a book that a ghostwriter's written. It's a book that's got my heart and soul in it. And you get a piece of me and my energy and heart and soul with it. And those books are embedded with magic and my soul magic. So for me, AI is just totally polar opposite to that. It's kind of a bit soulless. It's just, whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to go. And I certainly don't want to add my words into the mix and start using things like AI. I understand for some people maybe it's great, but it's not for me and for what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to get to, really.
Mhm. Yeah. And like what you said, Dr. Salin, it's really the connection that we establish with our readers through what we write that I think is at advantage compared to, just really relying on AI. Thank you. Thank you for those thoughts and also sharing your journey as a writer. We look forward to more of your works. And for those who would like to follow Dr. Saloni, I will be placing all the links to her social media and also to the bookstores where her books are available. Thank you for today, Dr. Saloni. Seems like you're not feeling well, but still you showed up. So I am
Sorry.
very, very grateful.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My
So,
absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
yes. Thank you very much and God bless you. Bye. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.